The barn door slammed shut behind us, and suddenly his calloused hand was on my face, thumb brushing away tears I didn't realize were still falling. "Look at me," Tyler whispered, his voice rough like gravel and honey mixed together. I couldn't. If I looked at him now, with my heart split open and my defenses shattered, everything would change. But he tilted my chin up anyway, those storm-gray eyes searching mine with an intensity that made my breath catch. "Why won't you just tell me the truth?" The space between us felt electric, dangerous, like standing too close to a lightning strike. I should have stepped back. I should have laughed it off like I always did. Instead, I stood there trembling, caught between running and falling, while my best friend of 8 years held my face like I was something precious he was afraid of breaking. And that's when everything I'd been hiding decided it was done staying hidden. 3 days earlier, everything had been normal. Well, as normal as life gets when you're 23, working on your family's ranch in Montana, and harboring feelings for your best friend that you've convinced yourself are completely manageable. Spoiler alert, they weren't manageable. They were a wildfire waiting for a spark. I was fixing the fence line on the north pasture when I heard the rumble of Tyler's truck coming up the dirt road. The sound alone made something warm unfurl in my chest, a Pavlovian response I'd developed over years of friendship. His arrival meant laughter, easy conversation, someone who understood the language of this land and the weight of legacy that came with it. It also meant 4 hours of pretending I didn't notice the way. His shirt stretched across his shoulders, or how his smile could light up the darkest corners of my carefully constructed emotional fortress. Tyler Garrett had been my best friend since we were 15, when his family bought the neighboring ranch. He'd shown up that first summer like something out of a Western movie, all confident swagger and genuine kindness wrapped in worn denim and a cowboy hat that somehow never looked ridiculous on him. We'd bonded over early mornings, shared work, and the kind of conversations that only happen when you're young and the world feels both infinite and terrifyingly small. Now he was climbing out of his truck, and I was very deliberately focusing on the fence post in front of me instead of the way. The afternoon sunlight caught in his dark hair. "You gonna actually fix that thing or just stare at it until it submits?" Tyler called out, his voice carrying that teasing lilt I knew so well. "I was having a philosophical moment with the wood," I shot back, straightening up and wiping sweat from my forehead. "Very deep conversation about the nature of rot and restoration. Sounds thrilling." He walked over, his gait easy and loose, carrying 2 bottles of water beaded with condensation. "Brought you this before you turn into beef jerky out here." I took the bottle gratefully, our fingers brushing in the exchange. Such a small touch, meaningless to anyone else, but my nerve endings registered it like a brand. I'd become an expert at cataloging these moments, filing them away in a mental folder labeled "Things that mean nothing but feel like everything." "You're a lifesaver." I drank deeply, aware of his eyes on me. Tyler had this way of watching people, really seeing them, that made you feel both visible and vulnerable. It was one of the things I loved most about him. It was also one of the things that terrified me. "Dad's got me hauling supplies tomorrow," Tyler said, leaning against the fence post I'd been working on. "Thought maybe you'd want to come into town with me after. Grab dinner at Miller's, maybe catch that new movie you were talking about?" My heart did that stupid flutter thing it had been doing increasingly often around him. "The Western remake?" I tried to keep my voice casual. "Yeah, that sounds good. I could use a break from fence posts and philosophical crises." "It's a date then." The words hung in the air between us, innocent and loaded all at once. Tyler said things like that all the time. "It's a date, love you, man. You're my favorite person," and he never meant them the way I desperately wanted him to mean them. He was straight as far as I knew. He dated girls throughout high school and college. He'd never given me any indication that he saw me as anything other than his best friend, and I convinced myself I was fine with that. I'd convinced myself that having him in my life as a friend was enough, that these feelings were just a phase, a confusion, something I could manage if I just didn't examine them too closely. I'd gotten very good at not examining things too closely. "You okay?" Tyler's voice pulled me back to the present. He was studying me with that searching look again, The one that made me feel like he could read every thought I'd ever tried to hide. You seem distracted lately. Just tired, I lied, forcing a smile. Ranch work never stops, you know that? Yeah, but you've got that look. He gestured vaguely at my face. That thing you do when you're chewing on something in your head and won't talk about it. What thing? I tried to sound offended, but it came out more nervous than intended. That thing. He poked me in the shoulder, playful but persistent. Come on, Ethan, we've been friends for 8 years. I know when something's up with you. The problem was, he did know. He knew me better than anyone, knew my moods and my tells, knew how to make me laugh when I was drowning in my own thoughts. He knew everything except the one thing I could never tell him. The one thing that would ruin everything. I'm fine, I insisted, turning back to the fence. Just got a lot on my mind with the ranch stuff. Dad's talking about expanding the herd next year, and you know how he gets with planning. It was a convenient deflection, and Tyler seemed to accept it, though his eyes lingered on me a beat longer than necessary. Well, if you need to talk, you know I'm here, right? Always, I know. The words came out softer than I intended, weighted with all the gratitude and longing I couldn't express. Thanks, Ty. We worked together for the next few hours, falling into the easy rhythm we'd developed over years of shared labor. Tyler talked about his younger sister's upcoming wedding, about the new horse his dad had bought, about nothing and everything. I listened and responded and pretended that being this close to him wasn't slowly unraveling every defense I'd built. As the sun started its descent toward the mountains. Painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, Tyler finally headed back to his truck. Tomorrow at noon? He called out. I'll be ready, I promised. Watching him drive away until the dust settled and I was alone again with thoughts I'd been successfully avoiding all afternoon. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling of my childhood bedroom, listening to the familiar creaks and groans of the old ranch house. My phone buzzed with a text from Tyler, a dumb meme about cowboys that made me laugh despite myself, followed by "Sleep well, man. Tomorrow's gonna be fun." I typed and deleted 3 different responses, before settling on a simple "you too." Safe, friendly, nothing. That would reveal the way my chest ached with wanting. Something I couldn't have. This was sustainable, I told myself. This was manageable. I'd been managing it for years now, these feelings that I'd let grow roots in the deepest parts of me. I could keep managing them. I had no idea that everything was about to fall spectacularly apart. The next day started perfectly normal. I met Tyler at noon as planned, climbing into his truck that, with you for weeks now, maybe longer. He leaned forward, elbows on the table, closing the distance between us. You get this look sometimes, like you're somewhere else entirely? And when I catch you staring into space, you jump like I caught you doing something wrong. I started, but he cut me off with a look. You do. And I'm worried about you, man. Is it the ranch? Your dad? Family stuff? He paused, something flickering across his face. Is it someone? The way he said that last word made my heart stop. There was something in his tone, something I couldn't quite identify. Hope? Curiosity? Jealousy? No, that was impossible. That was my imagination running wild. It's complicated, I finally said, which was both the truth and a complete deflection. Then uncomplicate it for me. Tyler's voice was gentle but insistent. We're best friends. We tell each other everything, right? Except the one thing I can never tell you, I thought. The one thing that would change everything between us. The one thing that keeps me up at night and follows me through every day like a shadow I can't shake. It's just... I struggled for words that weren't a lie but wouldn't reveal the truth. I've been thinking about the future a lot lately. What I want, where I'm going. Quarter-life crisis stuff. Betty arrived with our food, and I'd never been more grateful for an interruption. Tyler seemed like he wanted to push further, but he let it drop as we started eating. The conversation shifted to safer topics, movie we were planning to see, upcoming plans for the weekend, whether the Broncos had any chance this season, but I could feel something building between us. A tension that hadn't been there before. Or maybe had always been there, and I was just now brave enough or stupid enough to acknowledge it. Every time our eyes met across the table, it felt like standing on the edge of a cliff. Exhilarating and terrifying in equal measure, after dinner, we headed to the small movie theater on Main Street. The Western remake was everything we'd hoped: beautiful cinematography, complex characters, themes of loyalty and belonging that hit a little too close to home. In the darkness of the theater, I was hyper-aware of Tyler beside me. Our shoulders touched because the seats were narrow. His arm rested on the armrest between us, close enough that I could feel his warmth halfway through the movie. During a particularly tense scene, Tyler's hand shifted and his pinky finger brushed against mine on the armrest. It could have been accidental. It probably was accidental. But he didn't move away, and neither did I. And for 2 hours we sat like that, connected by the smallest possible touch that felt monumental. By the time we left the theater, the sun had set and Main Street was lit by old-fashioned street lamps that cast everything in warm golden light. The temperature had dropped, that sharp evening chill that comes with Montana nights. Tyler drove us back toward the ranches, but instead of going straight home, he pulled off onto a side road that led to one of our old haunts, a high point overlooking both our properties, where we used to go as teenagers to talk and watch the stars. "Haven't been up here in a while," I said as he parked and killed the engine. "Too long," Tyler agreed. He grabbed a blanket from the back of his truck, because of course he had a blanket. Tyler was always prepared for spontaneous adventures, and we climbed onto the truck bed, spreading the blanket and lying back to look at the sky. The stars were incredible, undimmed by city lights, stretching across the heavens in a glittering display that never got old. We lay side by side, close enough that our arms touched, and for a long moment neither of us spoke. "Remember when we first came up here?" Tyler finally asked, his voice quiet in the darkness. "We were, 16? 15, I corrected. "It was right after your family moved here. You'd had a fight with your dad about something, I don't even remember what, and you needed to get away. You drove up here with me even though you barely knew me." He turned his head to look at me, though in the darkness I could barely make out his features. Sat with me while I raged about how unfair everything was. Didn't try to fix it or tell me I was being dramatic, just listened. You would have done the same for me. I kept my eyes on the stars, afraid of what I might reveal if I looked at him. You did do the same for me plenty of times. That's when I knew we'd be friends forever, Tyler said softly. That night, I remember thinking, this guy gets it. He understands what it's like to feel trapped by expectations and legacy and all the weight of what we're supposed to be. My chest tightened. Yeah, I remember thinking the same thing. We fell silent again, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It never was with Tyler. We'd always been able to exist together in silence, comfortable in each other's presence without the need to fill every moment with words, but tonight felt different. The air between us felt heavy with something unspoken, like the pressure before a storm. I could hear Tyler's breathing, steady and deep. Could feel the warmth of his body next to mine. Could sense him turning his head to look at me even though I kept my gaze fixed on the stars. "Ethan," he said, and something in his voice made my heart start racing. "Can I ask you something?" "Always," I whispered, finally turning to meet his eyes. Even in the darkness, I could see the intensity in his gaze. Could see the way he was looking at me like he was trying to solve a puzzle he'd been working on for years. "Have you ever—" He paused, seeming to wrestle with his words. "Have you ever felt like there was something you needed to tell someone, but you were terrified it would ruin everything if you did?" My mouth went dry. "Yes," I admitted, because lying felt impossible in that moment. What if— He shifted closer, and suddenly the space between us felt impossibly small. What if it wouldn't ruin everything? What if it was the thing that finally made everything make sense? Tyler. His name came out barely audible, a plea and a prayer and a question all at once. "What are you asking me?" He reached out slowly, giving me every opportunity to pull away, and brushed his fingers along my jaw. The touch was feather-light, tentative, nothing like his usual confident touches. "I'm asking if I've been imagining this," he said, his voice rough. "This thing between us. This tension that feels like it's been building for years and I've been too scared or too stupid to acknowledge. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't do anything but stare at him while my world tilted on its axis. You haven't been imagining it, I finally whispered. The confession hung between us, enormous and terrifying. Tyler's eyes widened slightly, and I saw a flash of something that looked like relief mixed with fear. How long? He asked. Years, I admitted, my voice shaking. Years, Tyler, and I never said anything because you're straight, and you're my best friend, and I couldn't lose you. I'm not, he interrupted gently. Straight, I mean. Or maybe I am mostly, but he took a shaky breath. With you, it's different. You're different. You've always been different, and I've been trying to figure out what that meant, trying to convince myself it was just friendship, but, Ethan. His thumb traced my cheekbone, and I shivered. It's never been just friendship. Not for me. Not really. I was trembling now, every defense I'd built crumbling to dust. You dated girls, I said, needing to understand. Imagine that. It's real, I confirmed, my voice unsteady. I'm real. This is real. He pulled back just enough to look at me, his eyes searching mine in the starlight. I've wanted to do that for so long, he admitted. Longer than I've been willing to admit to myself. Me too, I said, and then I was laughing, giddy with relief and joy and the sheer unreality of this moment. God, Tyler, me too. Every single day for years. Years, he repeated, shaking his head in wonder. We're idiots. We wasted so much time. We're here now, I pointed out, reaching up to cup his face, marveling at the fact that I could do that now, that I was allowed to touch him like this. That's what matters. Yeah, he agreed, turning his head to press a kiss to my palm. Yeah, we're here now. We lay back down on the truck bed, but this time Tyler pulled me against his side, my head resting on his chest, his arm around my shoulders. It felt natural, like we'd been doing this forever, like this was exactly where we were meant to be. What do we do now? I asked quietly, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat beneath my ear. I don't know, Tyler admitted. Figure it out as we go, I guess. Together. He pressed a kiss to the top of my head. I just know I don't want to pretend anymore. Don't want to hide what you mean to me. What about our families? The town? The reality of our situation was starting to sink in through the euphoria. This isn't exactly the most progressive place in the world. I know. His arm tightened around me. And I won't pretend it's going to be easy. But Ethan, I've spent years trying to fit into what I thought I was supposed to be, who I was supposed to want. I'm done with that. I'm done pretending that you're not the most important person in my life, that I don't want more than friendship with you. I'm scared, I admitted in a whisper. Me too, he said honestly. But I'm more scared of losing this, of losing you, than I am of whatever challenges we might face. We stayed up there for hours, talking and kissing and planning and dreaming, making up for years of unspoken feelings with words that tumbled out like they'd been dammed up too long. We talked about everything, how we'd felt over the years. Moments we'd misread or ignored, the careful dance we'd both been doing around our feelings. It was like lancing a wound. Painful and necessary and ultimately healing. By the time Tyler drove me back to my ranch, it was past midnight and the world felt transformed. He walked me to my door, our hands intertwined, and kissed me one more time under the porch light. See you tomorrow? He asked, his thumb tracing circles on the back of my hand. Definitely. I promised. I watched him drive away, then leaned against the door. My hand pressed to my lips where I could still feel the ghost of his kiss. This was real. Tyler had feelings for me. We'd kissed. We were something together. After years of thinking it was impossible, here I was, grinning like an idiot in the darkness because my best friend had turned out to be my everything. I should have known then that happiness this pure, this unexpected, couldn't come without complications. Should have remembered that the universe doesn't hand out miracles without extracting a price. Should have been more careful with something so precious and new, but I was young and in love and riding the high of mutual feelings finally expressed. So I went to bed that night with my heart full and my head spinning. completely unprepared for how quickly everything was about to get complicated. The next morning, I woke up with Tyler's name on my lips and a smile I couldn't suppress. For a moment, I wondered if last night had been a dream, some elaborate fantasy my lonely heart had conjured. But then my phone buzzed with a text from him. "Morning, sunshine. Can't stop thinking about you." I stared at those words, my chest flooding with warmth. This was real. This was actually happening. I replied, "Same. When can I see you?" "Working on the south fence today. Come by after lunch?" "I'll be there." The morning dragged by as I helped my dad with various ranch tasks. He seemed to notice my distracted mood, commenting that I seemed particularly chipper. I deflected, making some joke about the nice weather, and he let it go with a knowing look that made me wonder if he suspected something. But he couldn't possibly know. Nobody could know. It had only been one night. After lunch, I made an excuse about checking some equipment on Tyler's ranch and headed over. My hands were sweating as I drove, nervous anticipation making my stomach flutter. This was the first time I'd see him since everything changed. Would it be awkward? Would the magic of last night evaporate in the harsh light of day? But the moment I saw him shirt off in the afternoon heat, working on fence posts just like he'd said, and he looked up with that smile that was somehow different now, more open, more his... all my worries evaporated. He put down his tools and walked toward me, and when he reached me, he didn't hesitate. He pulled me into a kiss right there in the open, his hands cupping my face like I was precious. "Hi," he said when we broke apart, his gray eyes warm and bright. "Hi," I replied, a little breathless. "Been thinking about doing that all morning," Tyler admitted, his thumb tracing my lower lip. "Only all morning?" I teased, finding my footing in this new dynamic. "Disappointing." He laughed and kissed me again, deeper this time, and I melted into it. This was real. This was happening. Tyler wanted me the way I'd wanted him for years. We spent the afternoon working together, but everything felt charged now. Every accidental touch, every shared look, every moment of standing close together had new meaning. When we took a break for water, sitting in the shade of his barn, Tyler reached over and laced his fingers through mine. "Weird question," he said, watching our joined hands. "But are we... what are we now? I mean, I know what I want us to be, but I don't want to assume, what do you want us to be?" I asked, my heart in my throat. "Together," he said simply. "Boyfriends, partners, whatever words, just together. Officially, is that too fast? Am I rushing this?" "No," I said quickly, squeezing his hand. "Not too fast. I've been yours for years, Tyler. It's just official now." His smile was blinding. Yeah. I leaned in and kissed him softly. "My boyfriend." God, that feels good to say. "Say it again," he requested, his eyes dancing. "My boyfriend," I repeated, grinning. "My boyfriend Tyler Garrett? Who kissed me under the stars and told me I was different and who I've been stupidly in love with for..." I stopped, realizing what I'd just said. The L word. Too soon, way too soon. We'd only been whatever we were for less than 24 hours. But Tyler's expression softened and he pulled me closer. "Yeah?" he asked gently. "Is that what this is for you, love?" I could have backtracked, could have played it off as an exaggeration, but I was done hiding from him. "Yeah," I admitted. "It is. Has been for a long time. You don't have to say it back. I know it's fast, and I love you too." Tyler interrupted, and the words hit me like a physical force. I didn't realize that's what it was until recently. But looking back, yeah, I've loved you for a long time. He'd show up at my place with my favorite coffee, leave little notes in my truck, plan surprise picnics in remote corners of the ranch where we could be ourselves without eyes on us. We texted constantly, called each other late at night, stole kisses whenever we could find privacy. It felt like living in a beautiful secret, thrilling and intimate and just ours. But it also felt increasingly fragile, like we were building something magnificent on a foundation that could crack at any moment. The cracks started to show. About 3 weeks into our relationship, we were at a community barbecue, one of those big events where half the county shows up to eat and drink and socialize. Tyler and I had come separately but found each other almost immediately, like magnets drawn together. We were careful to maintain proper distance, to act like friends, but I could feel the effort it took not to reach for him. Not to touch him the way I wanted to Dot at one point. I was talking to some neighbors when I saw Tyler across the yard with a girl I vaguely recognized, Sarah something, daughter of one of the big ranch owners. She was laughing at something he'd said, touching his arm in a way that sent jealousy spearing through my chest. Intellectually, I knew Tyler was just being polite, making conversation, but emotionally, watching another person flirt with my boyfriend while I had to stand across the yard and pretend I didn't care was torture. Tyler caught my eye and his expression shifted. He could read my face like a book. He gently extracted himself from the conversation and made his way over to me. "Hey, you okay?" he asked quietly, under the guise of grabbing a beer from the cooler near where I stood. "Fine," I said, but it came out sharper than I intended. His brow furrowed. "You sure? Because you look like you want to murder someone." I said I'm fine. I grabbed my own beer and walked away, hating the jealousy that was making me act like this, but unable to stop it. Tyler followed me to a quieter corner of the property. "Ethan, talk to me." "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong." I took a long drink, staring at the mountains in the distance. "You should go back to Sarah. She seemed really interested in whatever you were saying." Understanding dawned on Tyler's face. "Are you seriously jealous right now?" "No, I lied, Ethan." He moved closer, his voice dropping to that gentle tone he used when he was trying to get me to open up. "She's just a neighbor. We were talking about hay prices, for God's sake." "It meant nothing." "To you, maybe," I said, finally looking at him. "But she was definitely interested in more than hay prices." "And you're standing there, available as far as anyone knows, while I have to watch from across the yard and pretend you're not mine?" Tyler's expression softened. "Hey," he said, reaching out like he wanted to touch me, but remembering where we were. His hand dropped. "I am yours." "You know that, do I?" The words came out more vulnerable than I intended. "Because from where I'm standing, this is starting to feel like a lot of hiding and not much being together." "That's not fair," Tyler said, his voice tight. "We agreed to take this slow, to be careful about who we tell." "That was your choice too." "I know," I admitted, running my hand through my hair in frustration. "I know, and I'm not trying to start a fight. Seeing other people flirt with you, knowing they think they have a chance when they don't, knowing I can't just walk over and make it clear you're taken. It's harder than I thought it would be." Tyler was quiet for a moment, his jaw working like he was chewing on words. "It's hard for me too," he finally said. "Pretending you're just my friend when I want to kiss you every time I see you. Acting casual when all I want is to hold your hand or pull you close or tell everyone here that you're the most important person in my life." "Then maybe we should," I said impulsively. "Just tell people. Stop hiding, Ethan." Tyler's voice was careful. "Are you ready for that? Really ready? Because once we do this, there's no taking it back. Our families will know. The whole community will know. And you know how people around here can be about things that don't fit their worldview." I thought about my father, about the expectations he'd built around my future, about Tyler's conservative parents and their plans for his life, about the small-town mentality that could turn vicious when confronted with things it didn't understand. "I don't know," I admitted. "I don't know if I'm ready for all of that, but I also don't know how long I can keep doing this." "So what do we do?" Tyler asked, and there was a note of helplessness in his voice that I'd never heard before. "I don't know," I repeated. Feeling the weight of an impossible choice settling on my shoulders, we stood there in tense silence, until someone called Tyler's name from back at the party. He looked torn, but I nodded toward the sound. "You should go. People will notice if we're both gone too long." "Ethan, it's fine," I lied. "We'll talk later." He hesitated, then walked back toward the party, leaving me standing alone with a beer I didn't want and a chest full of feelings I didn't know how to process. This was the price of our secret, I realized. This constant push and pull between wanting to protect what we had and wanting to claim it openly. I stayed at the barbecue for another hour, making small talk and pretending everything was normal while very deliberately not watching Tyler when I finally left. I texted him a simple "heading home," and he responded with, "Can I come over later?" I should have said yes. Should have talked it through, worked through the jealousy and frustration and fear together like healthy couples do. Instead, I responded with, "I'm tired." "Tomorrow?" There was a long pause before his reply came. "Okay, sleep well?" I didn't sleep well. I lay awake thinking about impossible choices and inevitable heartbreak, wondering if love was supposed to feel this complicated or if we were doing everything wrong. Wondering if keeping us secret was protecting what we had or slowly suffocating it. The next morning, I woke up to another text from Tyler. "We need to talk. Can you meet me at our spot?" Our spot, the overlook where everything had started, where he kissed me for the first time and told me I was different. The place that held the best memory of my life was about to become the setting for a conversation. I was dreading. I drove up there to find Tyler already waiting, sitting on his truck bed with 2 coffees from the diner in town. He handed me one as I climbed up next to him, and for a long moment we just sat there in silence, looking out over the ranches that had been our home our whole lives. "I'm sorry about last night," Tyler finally said. "I should have been more aware of how Sarah was acting. Should have shut it down more clearly." "It's not your fault," I said. "Because it wasn't. I was just being jealous and insecure." "You have every right to feel that way," Tyler said gently. "This situation we're in, it's not fair to either of us. You should be able to tell people I'm your boyfriend. I should be able to introduce you as my partner without fear of judgment or worse. But we can't," I said flatly. "Not here. Not without blowing up everything." "Maybe not," Tyler agreed. "But Ethan, we can't keep going like this either. Last night showed me that. This middle ground we've been trying to occupy, it's not sustainable. Something's got to give." Fear clutched at my chest. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we need to make a choice." Tyler turned to face me fully. "Either we commit to this completely, come out, or back, just frozen in this awful in-between." On the 4th day, my father asked me to help him with some paperwork in his office. I went, grateful for the distraction, and spent an hour organizing invoices and updating records. We worked in companionable silence until he suddenly spoke. "You and Tyler have been spending a lot of time together lately." My heart stopped. "We're best friends, Dad. We always spend time together." "I know," he said carefully. "But it seems different lately. More intense. And you seem distracted, troubled." "I'm fine," I insisted, keeping my eyes on the papers in front of me. "Ethan," my father's voice was serious enough that I had to look up. "I know you. And I know when something's weighing on you. Is everything okay with Tyler? Did you two have a fight or something?" "Something like that," I admitted, because it was easier than lying. My father nodded slowly. "Friendships can be complicated, especially ones as close as yours. But whatever it is, I'm sure you can work it out. Tyler's a good kid. Good friend to you. I'd hate to see you lose that over something that can be fixed." The words hit harder than he could have known. "I'd hate to see you lose that." But what if being with Tyler meant losing everything else? What if I had to choose between love and family, between authenticity and acceptance? "Dad," I heard myself say, my voice shaking, "what if I told you something that would change how you see me? Something that might disappoint you?" He frowned, setting down his pen. "Ethan, you're my son. Nothing could change that or make me love you less." What's going on? This was my chance. My opportunity to come clean, to stop hiding, to take the first terrifying step toward the life Tyler wanted us to have. The words were right there, pressing against my teeth, desperate to be spoken, but then my father's phone rang. He glanced at it, saw it was important, and gave me an apologetic look. "Hold that thought. I need to take this." He left the office, and the moment shattered. The courage I'd scrounged up evaporated, leaving me shaking and nauseous. I couldn't do it. Couldn't find the words to break my father's heart, to risk losing everything I'd ever known. I left before he came back, making some excuse through the door about needing to check on something. Then I got in my truck and drove, no destination in mind, just needing to move. To escape the suffocating weight of choices I couldn't make, I ended up at Tyler's ranch without consciously deciding to go there. Muscle memory, maybe, or just my heart knowing where it wanted to be. His truck was in the driveway, and I sat in mine for a long moment, trying to gather the courage to go knock on his door, but then the door opened and Tyler came out, followed by a man I didn't recognize at first. They were talking, laughing about something, and the stranger touched Tyler's shoulder in a familiar way that sent ice through my veins. Then I recognized him, Marcus, a guy Tyler had gone to college with. Someone he'd mentioned a few times in passing. I watched as Tyler walked Marcus to his car. Saw them hug goodbye in a way that lasted just a second too long. Saw Tyler smile at something Marcus said before the other man drove away. And every insecurity I'd been wrestling with came roaring back with teeth and claws. I should have gone up to the house. Should have asked Tyler about it, given him a chance to explain. Instead, I started my truck and drove away. Jealousy and fear and hurt churning in my gut like poison. Tyler called me 20 minutes later. I let it go to voicemail. He called again. I declined it. Then a text came through. Ethan, I saw your truck. Why didn't you come in? Call me. I didn't call. I drove home and went straight to my room like a teenager, ignoring my father's questions about dinner. I was being childish and irrational, and I knew it, but I couldn't seem to stop the spiral. That night, Tyler showed up at my house. I heard him talking to my dad downstairs, heard their voices carrying up through the old house. Is Ethan around? I need to talk to him. He's in his room, my father said. Been up there all evening in a mood. You two did have a fight, didn't you? Something like that, Tyler said, echoing my earlier words. Can I go up? Course. You know you're always welcome here, Tyler. Footsteps on the stairs, then a knock on my door. Ethan, can I come in? It's your house too, apparently, I said, immediately regretting how petulant it sounded. Tyler came in, closing the door behind him. He looked tired, worried, and something in my chest cracked at the sight of him. What's going on? He asked. Why did you leave this afternoon without talking to me? You had company, I said, still not looking at him. Didn't want to interrupt? Marcus? Understanding dawned in Tyler's voice. Ethan, he's just a friend from college. He was in the area and stopped by to catch up. That's all. Looked like more than catching up, I said, hating myself for how I sounded but unable to stop. The way he touched you, the way you hugged, are you serious right now? Tyler's voice was a mix of hurt and frustration. You're jealous of Marcus? Ethan, he's engaged. To a woman. And even if he wasn't, I'm with you. Only you, how many times do I have to say that? You say it? I finally looked at him, and I knew my eyes were bright with unshed tears. But we're not really together, are we? Not in any way that matters. Not in any way that's real. We're just sneaking around, hiding, pretending. And I can't keep doing this. Tyler, I can't keep wanting you and not being able to have you. Not really. Then let's fix that, Tyler said, moving closer. Let's stop hiding. That's what I've been saying all along. Come out with me. Tell our families, be together for real. And lose everything else? My voice broke. My family's ranch, my father's respect, the life I've built here. Tyler, I almost told my dad today. Almost came clean about everything. But I couldn't. The words wouldn't come because I'm terrified of what happens next. Tyler was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was gentle but firm. Ethan, I understand you're scared. I am too. But we can't keep living like this in love, but hiding it, together, but separate. It's tearing us both apart. He sat down on the edge of my bed. I need you to decide what you want. Not what your dad wants, not what the community expects. What you want. I want you, I said immediately. I want us. But I also want my family, my home, everything that makes me who I am. And what if you can't have both? Tyler asked quietly. What if you have to choose? The question hung between us, enormous and terrible. I wanted to tell him I'd choose him, that love was enough, that we could build a new life somewhere else if we had to. But the words stuck in my throat, trapped behind fear and doubt and the weight of expectations I'd carried my whole life. Tyler's face fell as the silence stretched on. "You can't answer that, can you?" he said softly. "You can't choose me." "That's not fair," I started, but he shook his head. "Ethan, I love you. God, I love you so much it terrifies me. But I can't be your secret forever. Can't be the thing you hide and feel ashamed of." "I'm not ashamed of you," I interrupted desperately. "Then why can't you tell anyone?" Tyler's eyes were bright now, too. "Why can't you choose us?" "Because I'm scared." The words exploded out of my face, and the weight of the biggest decision of my life crushing my chest. I'd wanted him for years. Had him for weeks. And now I might lose him forever because I was too much of a coward to fight for what we had. The next week was the worst of my life. Tyler kept his word about giving me space, no texts, no calls, no showing up at my door. The silence was deafening. I moved through my days like a ghost, doing my work mechanically, barely eating, not sleeping well. My father noticed but didn't push, though his concerned looks followed me everywhere. I kept pulling out my phone to text Tyler, then putting it away. What was I supposed to say? I hadn't figured anything out, hadn't become magically brave enough to risk everything. I was stuck, paralyzed, while the best thing in my life slipped through my fingers. On the 5th day, I was working on fixing a section of fence, the same mindless work that had filled so many afternoons with Tyler, when I saw a truck coming up the road. For a heart-stopping moment, I thought it was him, coming back, ready to work through this together. But as it got closer, I realized it was my father's truck. He pulled up and got out, walking over with 2 bottles of water. "Thought you might need this," he said, handing me one. "It's hot out here." "Thanks," I said, grateful for the distraction. We stood in silence for a moment, and then my father said, "You going to tell me what's really going on with you and Tyler?" My heart stopped. "What do you mean?" "Come on, Ethan, I'm old, not blind." He took a long drink of water, his eyes on the horizon. "You've been miserable all week. Tyler hasn't been around, which is unusual since that boy practically lived here. And before all this, you two were acting different. Closer somehow, but also more careful. Like you were hiding something. This was it. Another chance to come clean, to stop hiding, to finally tell the truth." My mouth opened and closed, words tangling on my tongue. "You don't have to tell me if you're not ready," my father continued. "But Ethan, I want you to know something. This ranch, this legacy, it's important. It matters. But not as much as you do. Not as much as your happiness." He turned to look at me fully. "Whatever's going on, whatever you're afraid to tell me, I'm your father. I love you. That doesn't change." The words unlocked something in me. "Dad," I said, my voice shaking. Tyler and I were not just friends. We were together, romantically, and I'm terrified that you'll hate me for it. That I'll lose the ranch, lose you, lose everything I've built my life around." My father was quiet for a long moment. Long enough that panic started to set in. But then he said, "Tyler's a good man. Smart, hardworking, kind. If I had to pick someone for you to be with, someone to make you happy, I can't think of anyone better." I stared at him, certain I'd misheard. You're okay with it? Okay with you being gay?" my father asked. "Or okay with you being with Tyler?" "Both, I don't know." I was trembling now. "Ethan, you're my son. Nothing about who you love changes that." He put his hand on my shoulder. "As for Tyler, like I said, he's good people. I've watched you two together for years. Whatever this is between you, it's not new. I can see that now. You've loved him for a long time, haven't you?" "Years," I whispered, "and he feels the same?" He did. He does. But Dad, I messed it up. I was so scared of losing everything that I couldn't commit to us fully, and he needed more than I could give. So he walked away, asked for space, and now I don't know if I've lost him for good. My father was quiet again, thinking. Then he said, "You know what I regret most in my life? Playing it safe. There was a time before I met your mother, when I had a chance to do something different, something risky, something that called to me. But I was afraid. Afraid of failure, of judgment, of stepping outside the safe path everyone expected me to follow? So I didn't do it. And I've wondered my whole life what might have been if I'd been braver. He squeezed my shoulder. Don't make my mistake, son. Don't let fear steal your happiness. If Tyler makes you happy, if being with him feels right, then fight for it. The ranch will be here. I'll be here. But that kind of love, the kind I see between you two that doesn't come around often, don't let it slip away because you're afraid of what people might think. Tears were streaming down my face now. What if I'm not brave enough? Then you find the courage, my father said simply. You dig deep and you find it. Because Ethan, living a half-life to make other people comfortable is no life at all. You deserve to be fully yourself. And if that means being with Tyler, then be with Tyler. Proudly, openly, let the rest of us figure out how to adjust. Something in my chest loosened. A knot I'd been carrying for years finally starting to unravel. Thank you, I managed. Dad, thank you. Don't thank me. Just go get your man back. He smiled. 8 hours to tell me this? I would have driven across the country if I had to, I said honestly. I would do anything to fix this, to get another chance with you. And if I say no? Tyler asked quietly. If I tell you it's too late, that you hurt me too much and I need to move on? My heart cracked, but I forced myself to answer. Then I'd respect that. I'd leave and let you live your life. But Tyler, I don't think it is too late. I think you still love me, and I think we can make this work if you'll give me another chance. You sound awfully confident for someone who showed up unannounced at my new apartment, Tyler said, but there was something in his eyes, hope. Maybe, or longing. I'm not confident, I admitted. I'm terrified. But I'm here anyway because you taught me what it means to be brave. To risk everything for something that matters. Tyler moved closer and my breath caught. You really told your dad? He asked. Yeah, and he was amazing about it. Said he already suspected, which apparently everyone suspected except us. I managed a weak laugh. But yes, I told him. And I'm ready to tell everyone else too. Ready to be your boyfriend openly, proudly, if you'll still have me. Ethan. Tyler's voice was rough with emotion. He reached up and cupped my face, his thumb tracing my cheekbone exactly like he had that night in the barn. I moved to Denver to get away from you. To stop hurting every time I saw you or thought about you or remembered what it felt like to have you and lose you. I know, I whispered. And if you need me to go, I will. But please, Tyler, please tell me it's not too late. For a long moment, he just looked at me, his gray eyes searching mine. Then he said, I'm still in love with you, you idiot. Driving 8 hours away didn't change that. Nothing could change that. Relief flooded through me. So we can try again? On one condition, Tyler said seriously. No more hiding. No more pretending we're just friends. We do this right, openly, honestly. I need that from you. Yes, I said immediately. Anything, everything, I'm all in, Tyler, I promise. Then yeah, he said, a smile finally breaking through. We can try again? I closed the distance between us and kissed him, pouring every ounce of love and relief and gratitude into it. Tyler kissed me back just as desperately, his arms wrapping around me, pulling me close. We stood there in his half-unpacked apartment, holding each other like we'd been apart for years instead of weeks. And it felt like coming home, Dot, when we finally broke apart. Both breathing hard, Tyler rested his forehead against mine. You know you're crazy, right? Driving all this way? Crazy about you, I said, and he groaned at the cheesy line, but he was smiling. What happens now? He asked. I just took this job. I've got a lease on this place. We figure it out, I said. Together, maybe I visit on weekends. Maybe I look for work out here too. Maybe we do long distance for a while. I don't have all the answers, Tyler, but I know I want to be with you. And we'll make it work somehow. Long distance is going to be hard, Tyler pointed out. Everything worth having is hard, I countered. But we've already done the hardest part. We were honest with each other. The rest is just details. Tyler laughed, and it was the best sound I'd heard in weeks. When did you get so wise? 8 hours on the road gives you time to think, I said. Also, my dad gave me some good advice about not letting fear steal my happiness. Smart man, your dad. Tyler kissed me again, soft and sweet. I'm glad you listened to him. We spent the rest of the evening talking, making plans, rebuilding the foundation of trust I'd damaged. Tyler showed me around his apartment, told me about the new job, and I told him about coming out to my father, about the acceptance I'd found and the fears I'd finally let go. We ordered pizza and ate it sitting on his couch, trading kisses between bites, making up for lost time. As night deepened into early morning, Tyler pulled me close and said, "Stay tonight. I don't want you driving back exhausted." Okay. I agreed, because being close to him felt necessary. Like breathing, we lay together in Tyler's bed, wrapped in each other's arms. And for the first time in weeks, I felt at peace. This wasn't going to be easy long distance, never was, and we still had challenges ahead. But we had each other, and we had the truth, and that felt like enough. "I love you," I whispered into the darkness. "I love you too," Tyler whispered back. "Always have. Always will." The next morning, I drove back to Montana with a full heart and a plan. Over the next few weeks, Tyler and I navigated our new reality video calls every night. Weekend visits when we could manage them, constant texting and the ache of distance balanced by the joy of commitment. It wasn't perfect, but it was real, and it was ours. I came out to friends, to neighbors, to anyone who needed to know. Some people were supportive, like my father. Others were less so. There were uncomfortable conversations, a few relationships that changed or ended, moments of judgment that stung. But through it all, I had Tyler on the phone when I needed support, cheering me on, proud of me for finally being authentic. 3 months into our long-distance relationship, Tyler called with news. "My boss here said there's an opening at their sister ranch in Montana. Better position, good pay, and it would mean coming home." My heart leapt. "Tyler, that's amazing. When?" "Next month if I want it." "And Ethan?" He paused. I want to come home. Want to be near you, near my family, build our life there together." "Then come home," I said, grinning so wide my face hurt. "Come home to me." When Tyler moved back, it felt like everything clicking into place. We found a small house to rent on the border between our family's properties, a symbolic middle ground that felt right. We worked our ranches during the day and came home to each other at night. We had dinner with both our families, weathered the occasional judgment from community members, and built a life that was honest and open and ours, a year after that night in the barn where everything changed. Tyler and I were lying in bed in our little house. The windows open to let in the Montana night air. He traced patterns on my arm, and I played with his hair, and everything felt settled in the best possible way. "Hey," Tyler sighed softly. "Remember that first night? When I asked you to tell me the truth and you were crying and confused. How could I forget?" I smiled at the memory. "You pushed me to be honest even when I was terrified." "Because I knew," he said. "Knew we were standing on the edge of something important. Something worth fighting for." He propped himself up on one elbow, looking down at me with those storm-gray eyes I loved. "Best decision I ever made, pushing things further that night. Best decision I ever made was letting you." I agreed, pulling him down for a kiss, outside. The Montana sky stretched endlessly above us, full of stars and possibilities. Inside, we had each other and the life we'd fought for, and a love that had survived doubt and fear and distance to become something unshakable. This was happiness. This was home. This was everything. Thank you so much for reading our story. If you felt the emotions, the tension, and the hope in Ethan and Tyler's journey, please hit that subscribe button and like this video. It helps us share more stories like this one. Drop a comment and tell me, should I tell you what happened at their wedding 2 years later? Or would you like to hear about the night Tyler's family finally accepted them fully? I need to know which moment from their future you want to see most. Comment below.